Good morning, friends, and welcome back to the next session of your economics class. And I hope that you had a great day yesterday. Before we start with today's class, let me just tell you what we had discussed in last class. This is for your revision, just a brush up. See, last class we were discussing about three important things. Like in economics, we are discussing about three things, that is what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. So these are the three important things which you have to keep in mind, like what we are going to produce in the entire process, how we are going to produce using technology, technique, land, labor, and the different factors of production. And the last thing is for whom. For whom are we producing the goods and services? Now, for whom means we are here targeting the people of the society, okay, and we are targeting the nation as a whole. So, every economic activity, whether it is a small business, or we are talking about enterprise, or we are talking about a big MNC, or we are talking about a big business house, they have to concentrate on these three things. That is what we have to produce, like whether we are producing the goods, okay, or we are into the services, different kind of services. As I have already given you example, the services may be hospital sector, hotel sector, banking services, educational services. So whether we are going for goods or services, then how we are going to produce. How we are going to produce means what technology we are going to use, okay, what technique we are going to use, so that we'll have or we'll be in a state to give maximum production or maximum satisfaction to the people. Our target is the people in the society or the people of the nation. So these three things have to be very well kept in mind, that whatever wealth we are generating or whatever goods we are producing, it is to be produced with the available resources. And as I told you, resources are very limited. We have very limited resources, but within the limited resources, we have to utilize the resources at the best, so that we can give the maximum to the people, and their ultimate is how their wants will be satisfied. Is it clear? So this is what we had discussed last class, that the economic activity revolves around three important things, that is production, then is distribution of goods and services, and finally the consumption. But again we have to keep in mind that what we are going to produce, whether it is under the category of goods or services, then how we are going to produce, in what way, using what technology, what innovative ways, or using how to make the best use of different factors of production, land, labor, organization, money, everything. And finally, when we are going to produce, then how our people or how the people of the nation are going to get the maximum output or maximum satisfaction. So if this process is fulfilled, then the wants can be satisfied, and if wants are satisfied, then it will create next want or the next desire, next need, and again we'll have the cycle will go on, like what to be produced and again. So this is a continuous cycle of production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. So this is what we had discussed last class. So this is just for your reminding that we were discussing about the basic economic activity. Now today we are going to, and I have told you last class we were also discussing some of the important constituents, like important terms in economics. Like I told you, what is, first we were discussing wealth. Okay, wealth is again divided in two parts. One is your personal wealth, and next is your national wealth. Okay, now what is wealth? Wealth is the total amount of stock. Okay, now when we are saying wealth, wealth could be personal wealth could be your like furnitures, buildings, okay, your own assets. These are your personal wealth. But national wealth are like roads, okay, which are owned by the government, railways. So these are the national wealth, parks, hospitals. So these are the national wealth. So we were discussing that in economics we have certain terms like wealth, which will be discussing time and again. Wealth is an important part because in our discussion of the concept and definition, we are saying that economics is a complex process of generating wealth. Okay, generating the wealth, distributing the wealth, and consumption of wealth. So here wealth can be understood as the total stock which is either owned by a personal way, that is owned by a person or an individual, maybe furniture, building or the different assets, or it could be a national wealth. National wealth are here owned by the government, which can be used by each and everyone. Next comes here, there is another important term, that is money. Okay, so this part also we had finished discussion, that money is understood as what is money? In ordinary manner, money refers to, I told you that previously when business was taking place, we had the barter system. Barter means exchange system. But later on it was found that all the business activity cannot be fulfilled, or we cannot equate everything in the barter system. Say for example, previously the barter system was like for in exchange of 2 kg of rice, we were getting 1 kg of wheat. But later on what happened? We could not identify the exact exchange rate, or we cannot say that barter system could be really fulfilled. So slowly what happened? The barter system faded away, and the introduction of money means here we can say the rupee notes, coins, or we can say the credit cards, or we can say the check. So these are now used in business activity, and money plays a very important role in the economic terms. Next, another important term which will be coming time and again across is market. Now what exactly is market? See, market can be understood as a place where there is exchange of goods and services, or you can say market is a place where we are selling the goods and services and buying the goods and services. As such, every place could be a market, but we can identify the market. Now we are talking, now see, in today's global scenario, we are talking about virtual market also. Virtual market means there is no physical market, but virtually things can be exchanged or things can be purchased and sold. So why market? Market is very important because unless you have a market, you cannot determine the quantity of the goods, or you cannot determine the price. Now for example, I'll tell you, suppose we are saying market is a place. Now in market only, suppose I am interested to buy a soap. Okay, now if I go to market, then only I will find that there are variety of soap. Suppose the cost of one soap is ₹30, another soap is 50, another soap is ₹100. So in a market only I see that there are different varieties of soap, and the price of soap is varied. Like the one soap rate is ₹30, another is 50, another maybe ₹80, another maybe ₹100. So now it depends upon your buying capacity. Depending on your budget and depending upon buying capacity, you can buy the particular soap which you want to have or which you want to consume. So in a I told you that why market is important, because unless we have a market, we cannot know the price of the commodity, or we cannot know that where to get the things, or where to buy, or where to sell the commodity as product. So market is also important segment of your economics. The last is another important term which will be coming across is capital stock. Okay, so capital stock means what? Capital stock is the investment which is made in total. Okay, what is the total investment made in the sector? Suppose we have, now I will give you an example. Suppose we have a reservoir, okay, which is filled with water, and there is a tap in the reservoir. Now what happens if the tap is turned on? Water will start flowing in the reservoir. So what we can do is, with the help of a tap, we can either control the flow of water, or we can reserve the flow of water. So now the water which is stored in the reservoir is actually like the capital stock. Now why capital stock is required? Capital stock is required because we have to continue a business, and we need the stock in order to utilize it for various purposes. Okay, so these are some of the important terms which we have come across in economics. Here is wealth, money, market, capital stock, and another term is also there which would I like to mention is investment. Now investment is what? Investments is how much money you are pouring into the business. Like how much money I am interested to invest in business. Suppose I am interested to invest 50 lakhs. Okay, so I have invested 50 lakhs in a business, means I have poured or I have given 50 lakh towards a business and I have invested some money hoping that the business will run well and I will get incur profits. Okay, so we have some important terms. Please try to remember these terms because we are going to come across these terms in and we will be discussing time and again these terms like wealth, money, market, capital stock and investment. And I have already told you that the factors of production are land, labor, okay, capital, organization. So these are the some of the important factors of your production. Now there is another word also known as income. We have another two words. Let me just make you understand what are the another two words. That is, one is income and one is saving. Okay. So one word is known as income, another word is saving. Now I hope that you are familiar with these two words. One is income and saving. Income is what? Income is the what? It is the total money which you have or the total amount of money which you are earning during a particular period. What is the income is? What is the total amount of money or what is the total capacity of purchase or total purchasing power of an individual is known as income. Or you can say the money incurred over a period of time. We can make it more simplify. The money incurred or the money earned, okay, over a period of time is known as income. Time is known as income. Okay. Income is either monthly or maybe weekly or maybe it may be daily income, okay, or weekly or maybe monthly. Okay, so what is income? Income is the money incurred or the money which an individual earns over a specific period of time. Maybe it is a period of 1 month, maybe monthly income, or on daily basis that is daily income, or weekly basis that is weekly income. Now the last term which is another important saving. So what is saving? Saving is the leftover amount, like what is left after your expenditure, left after your expenses. Now I will give you a simple example here. Suppose my salary or my income is 10,000 rupees per month. Now out of 10,000 rupees, I have already spent 8,000 rupees. Now left is only 2,000 rupees. Okay, try to understand. My monthly income is 10,000 rupees. Okay, out of 10,000 already 8,000 I have expended or I have invested or I have spent somewhere. Now how much money is now left? So only 2,000 money is left. So this 2,000 money is my saving. Okay, you can say this 2,000 money is now my saving. Is it clear? So please try to understand all these terms like wealth, your income, saving, capital, investment, money. Money, as I told you, can be rupee or coin or can be traveler checks or it could be your credit cards. Is it clear? Okay. Next, today we are going to discuss a very important concept. Okay, a very important and yet very interesting concept today we are going to discuss. That is your law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, law of diminishing marginal utility. It's a very interesting concept. I'll explain you. Okay, law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, this law was first propounded by H.H. Gossan, Gossan, G-O-S-S-A-N, in the year 1954. Okay, so this law is very interesting and plays a very important role in economics. Now this law was propounded by H.S. Gussen, but again developed by Alfred Marshall. Developed by Alfred Marshall. Okay, so please remember the law of diminishing marginal utility was developed by Alfred Marshall, but as it was propounded by H.H. Gussen in the year 1954, so it is also called as the what? It is sometimes also called as the Gussen, okay, law of Gussen, or it is also called as the first law of consumption. Okay, try to understand. Law of diminishing marginal utility was propounded by H.H. Gussen in the year 1954. So it is also known as the first law of consumption. First law of consumption. And as it was developed by Alfred Marshall, it is known as the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay, what is law of diminishing marginal utility? Now I will tell you what is this law all about. See, the law of diminishing marginal utility is an interesting law which states that the more means suppose you are consuming a particular product. Okay, suppose I consume a particular product for the first time. Now when I am consuming the particular product for the first time, definitely the rate of satisfaction or the degree of satisfaction very high. Say for example, suppose I am looking for a very, suppose I am looking for some chocolates. Okay, suppose I am looking for Cadbury chocolates. Now I had Cadbury chocolate. So after consuming Cadbury chocolate, I was happy, delighted, and I was satisfied. Second day also I had Cadbury chocolates. Okay, so I also felt satisfied. Now when you increase your intake of Cadbury chocolates, you will find that after 6th, 7th or maybe at the 10th day, you don't find that much of satisfaction or that much of you can say happiness by consuming the same Cadbury chocolate. Now what is the reason? The reason is well explained in this law of diminishing marginal utility, which states that with the increase of consumption of any one commodity, the additional utility of the additional unit goes on decreasing. That means what? When you first started eating chocolates, your utility rate was very high. Now I was highly satisfied, I liked the chocolate and I wanted to have some more. Now when you start consuming the same chocolate again and again, like today you had 2 chocolates, tomorrow you had 3, again you had 4, 5. Now after 6th, 7th day you will find that whatever utility you were deriving by consuming the chocolate on first day, the same utility does not remain here. Now what does it mean? That means the utility of that chocolate has come down. Now why it has come down? Because your consumption rate has increased. So law of diminishing marginal utility states that the more you consume a particular commodity or product, then you go on consuming an additional unit, the utility of the additional unit will start decreasing. This is very natural. Okay. So if a person goes on increasing the consumption of any one commodity, the additional utility derived from the additional unit goes on diminishing, and this is called the law of diminishing marginal utility. Now I'll try to make it more clear by giving another example. Now we'll just go to the example. See this table, this is units. Okay, how much units you have consumed. Okay, and this is total utility of that unit, total utility, and this is your marginal utility. Marginal utility. Now unit, suppose I have first unit, second unit, third unit, fourth unit, fifth. Suppose this is it. Now first unit I have started total, for when I was consuming the first unit, my total utility was 40. Then by the second unit my total utility was 70. Then 90. then 100, it goes on increasing. Okay, again it became 90. Now what happened to the marginal utility? 40, 30, 20, 10, minus 10, or you can say this is 0, then minus 10. Now what is this? Please try to understand this table. Now as I told you, the law of diminishing marginal utility states that when you start consuming a particular product or commodity, during the initial stage you have maximum satisfaction and your total utility is more and marginal utility is also more. But what happens when you increase the number of units? Then what happens? Your marginal utility or the utility of the particular of each additional unit consumed now starts decreasing. See this table, like when I was consuming first unit, the total utility was 40, marginal utility was also 40. Now in the second unit, total utility was 70, but marginal utility has decreased, that is has come to 30. Similarly in the third unit, total utility was 90, but again marginal unit is 20. Then again in the fourth, my total utility is 100, but marginal utility is 10. Now why this happens? The question comes to mind, why this happens? See what happens when we keep on consuming the same commodity or same product again and again, after a particular period of time, the utility of each additional unit consumed is decreased. Why? Because already we have reached a point of satisfaction. So if you add the number of units to be consumed, don't think that your marginal utility will always also increase. No. According to the law of diminishing marginal utility states that if the number of additional units is increased, then marginal utility will start decreasing. This is a normal phenomena which is observed in each and every place, and it is well established in this particular diagram. Okay. Now in this particular theory or concept, we have very three important points. That is, if what it states, the first important point is, if total utility increases, okay, then marginal utility will decrease. This is the first most important point. So the law of diminishing marginal utility states that the more number of units consumed by an individual will definitely decrease the marginal utility of each additional unit. That means what? If the total utility increases, the marginal utility will certainly come down. And when total utility, suppose total utility will reach the maximum rate, suppose total utility will reach at its maximum, then what will happen? Marginal utility will be 0. There will be no marginal utility. Okay, marginal utility will be 0. And when total utility starts diminishing or coming down, then marginal utility will be negative. So third important point is, if total utility starts diminishing but diminishing, comma, then marginal utility will be negative. Is it clear? So according to the law of diminishing marginal utility, there are three important points. What is that? If total utility increases, marginal utility will decrease. If the total utility at its maximum, then marginal utility will be 0. And if the total utility is diminishing or it is coming down, then the marginal utility they will take a negative figure. Okay. So once again I am trying to explain that the law of diminishing marginal utility given by Alfred Marshall very clearly explains a very important concept or phenomena, that if there is an increase of consumption of the same commodity again and again, what will happen after some time? Consumption of additional unit will lower the degree of marginal utility. That means what? Your total utility may increase, but your marginal utility is going to decrease. This is well established in this particular table or diagram, where the first unit, for first unit the total utility is 40, but marginal utility is again 40. Second unit total utility is 70, but marginal utility is 30. Again for third unit total utility is 90, but marginal utility has come down. See, it is come down, it is 20 now. Then again for fourth unit the total utility is 100, but again marginal utility is 10. So that means if total utility increases, marginal utility will decrease. Second most important is, if the total utility will reach at its maximum, then the marginal utility will be 0. And finally, if the total utility decreases or diminishes, then the marginal utility will be negative. Is it clear? So I have explained you with the help of chocolates. Okay, like suppose you consume 1 unit of chocolate, your total utility may be 40 and marginal utility 40. But during the second unit, your total utility may increase to 70. But what happens? Your marginal utility has decreased from 40 to 30. Like you see in the diagram, 40 to 30. Similarly, at the consumption third unit, their marginal utility may be increased to 90. But total utility may increase to 90. But your marginal utility is only 20 now. So similarly, we are seeing that when there is consumption of each additional unit, the total utility is increasing, no doubt. But what happens? The marginal utility decreases. But again, this law is not 100% applicable to all. Okay. Now why? There are certain exceptions also. Let us try to understand what are these exceptions. Is it clear? So what we have tried to understand is, we have tried to understand a very important law, that is law of diminishing marginal utility, given by Alfred Marshall, but it was propounded by Gusen. It is also known as the first law of consumption, where it has been rightly said that the more you consume, okay, your total utility may increase, but what will happen? Your marginal utility will start decreasing. With consumption or with the use of each additional unit, your total utility may be at higher rate, but your marginal utility will come down. Say again, I will give one example. Suppose you are very fond of sweets. Suppose today you had one gulab jamun. Okay. Now one gulab jamun has given you total utility, say 40. Okay, your marginal utility is also 40. But tomorrow you have 2 gulab jamuns. Your total utility may increase to 80, but your marginal utility has come down from 40 to 30. Similarly, next day you have 3 or 4 gulab jamuns. Your total utility may increase, but again marginal utility will come down. And finally, you will see at one particular stage, if your total utility is to the maximum, suppose today you had 20 gulab jamuns, the maximum, then your marginal utility is negative. Why negative? Because you are not deriving any kind of marginal utility at consuming the highest or consuming the where the total utility is to the maximum. So this is a very important phenomena which we need to understand. But again I would say there are some exceptions also to this law. Now we will discuss what are the exceptions. Exceptions means where the law does not operate. See, law of diminishing marginal utility is a well-known law. Okay, it operates everywhere, but still we have seen there are certain exceptions. What are the exceptions? First is, suppose we are talking about collection of rare materials. Collection of rare materials or rare things. Here the law of diminishing or rare goods, you can say, here the law of diminishing marginal utility does not hold true. Or we talk about hobbies. Okay. Or we talk about, say for example, we are talking about money or gold, or we are talking about reading books. Now why I have told you the exception. Take for example reading books. The more you read books, the more deeper knowledge you get, the more you get involved, and the more satisfaction you derive. So if you read the first book, then you go to second, third, fourth, then what happens? Your marginal utility after reading the sixth or seventh book does not come down. Your total utility is very high, and even the marginal utility, and these are some of the exceptions. Similarly, like hobbies, we are talking about hobbies, or we are talking about spending of money, or we are talking about the spending of gold, or we are talking about collection of rare things, or reading of books. Here the law of diminishing marginal utility does not hold good, because here we find that the total utility increases, but marginal utility does not decrease. That means what? Total utility is also very high and marginal utility is also high. So this is the law of diminishing marginal utility. Okay. Consumption of common food items, or the less you eat, the more you enjoy. Now this is a funda that, see, we have seen the less you eat, the more you enjoy. Okay. Suppose you have only one gulab jamun, and you have that gulab jamun, you derive more satisfaction and enjoy more. But if you have 20 gulab jamuns, maybe you have consumed more, or your total utility may be very high. But the thing is, your satisfaction or your happiness or your final marginal utility will come down or decrease. Is it clear? Why? Because as I told you, according to the law of diminishing marginal utility, by consuming each additional unit of the commodity, the marginal utility is going to come down. This is what the law talks about. So dear friends, now we are discussing about the exceptional cases of law of marginal utility. So I am just citing you few examples to make it more clear and clarify your concept. Now I have told you law of marginal utility states that by consuming each additional unit, the total utility increases, but marginal utility decreases. But we have exceptions, like in cases of use of rare goods. Okay, rare goods means which are less available, or which give us benefit, but they are not plentifully available in the market or not easily available. Then comes your hobbies. Now how we explore our hobbies, how we go for utilizing our free time, in what way. So that gives us benefit, because each time, like suppose my hobby is listening to music, so each time when I listen to music, I derive more satisfaction. And another example I would like to cite is that say for example reading books. Now many of us are having the habit of reading books. So what happens is, when you complete a book, suppose I am talking about a novel or I am talking about a story book, when I complete a book, I find lot of satisfaction after completing. I get some kind of benefit, I gather knowledge. So what happens is, here the utility of total utility increases, even the marginal utility. Why so? Because I have a crave of reading another book. So when I go through another book or I complete another book, the same kind of satisfaction I derive by completing that book also. So if I go for again another book also, the same thing happens. So here we can say that all total utility has increased, and even the marginal utility has also increased. So by citing this example, I can say you that the law of marginal utility does not hold true in few cases, but universally law of marginal utility is applicable everywhere, because it states that if you go on consuming the goods or the commodities, by each additional unit, the marginal utility may come down. So this is how we are talking about the exceptional cases. So today we will discuss this much. Before I wind up, just let me tell you what we have tried to actually analyze in today's class. See, today's class we have tried to just brush up regarding what we had discussed last class. Then I told you what are the important terms in economics, like some of the important terms we have discussed is wealth. Okay, wealth is what? The total amount of stock present is wealth. Now wealth is again divided into personal wealth and public wealth or national wealth. Personal wealth is a wealth which is owned by an individual, say his furniture, house, building, assets, that is known as personal wealth. National wealth, the public wealth is which is earned or which is owned by the government, like railways, parks, hospitals. Okay, so those wealth we don't have any control over the wealth, and it is meant for everyone. Then comes the concept of market. I told you, what is market? Market is actually a place where there is exchange of goods or where there is selling and purchase of the goods and services. We have virtual market also. Okay, nowadays we have virtual markets, and nowadays, as you know, we don't need not go to market. We are having lot of shopping through online. This is a virtual market example. Okay, you can sit at home, you can look at the products, and online you can do lot of shopping. Okay, so now slowly the market concept is changing. Now we need a market because through market only we can determine two important things. One is the price of the product, and second is we can determine the quantity of the product. Then we went through the term that is money. As I told you, barter system is now replaced with money. What is money? Money is given in exchange of a particular good and service. Now what does this money constitute? This money constitute coins, rupee note, okay, traveler checks, credit card. So if you give money, you will get some kind of benefit like goods or services in return. Then we discuss what is capital stock, total amount of stock, what is investment. Then we discuss what is income. Okay, income is the amount of money incurred over a particular period of time, which may be daily income or weekly income, okay, or monthly income. Then next we try to understand what is saving. Saving is actually the left amount after you have invested or expended. Suppose, as I told you, suppose my salary is 10,000 rupees. I have already invested or I have expended 8,000 or 9,000, and left is only 1,000. So that 1,000 is now my what? That 1,000 rupees is now my saving, because that is only the saving at the end of the month. Is it clear? After discussing all these things, we have also discussed a very important law of economics, that is law of diminishing marginal utility. According to this law, that is law of diminishing marginal utility, we have seen given by Alfred Marshall. Okay, Alfred Marshall, we have seen that it says that if a person goes on increasing the consumption of any one commodity, if any one commodity you are trying to increasing the consumption, then the additional utility derived from that addition, like we are talking about the additional utility derived by consuming that additional unit of commodity or product will be less or will be diminishing. So hence it is known as the law of diminishing marginal utility. As I have already given you example is that if you go on consuming it, suppose I am talking about chocolates, or I am talking about gulab jamuns, or I am talking about consuming anything, if you are increasing your consuming level, or if you are increasing the number of units consumed, then what will happen is by each additional unit consumed by you, the marginal utility is going to come down. Okay, and in the table given or explained, I very well tried to explain that your marginal utility will come down, so that by consuming each additional unit, your total utility is decreasing, like it was 40, then 70, then 80, then 90, then 100. But what happened to the marginal utility? The marginal utility has started decreasing from 40 to 30 to 20 to 10 to 0 to minus 10. Is it clear? So this law holds very good practically. It's a universal law, can be applicable everywhere, but again few exceptions are there, like I have told you, collection of rare material, hobbies, money, gold, or reading books. So this is what we have discussed today. I hope you could understand very clearly and got my point that what exactly we have tried to analyze today. And this law of diminishing marginal utility is going to help us more to understand what exactly is economics and what exactly happens. See, if you see also, suppose you are using certain product, in initial stage your level of satisfaction or the level of happiness is more, but if you continuously use the product, after some time the utility for using each additional utility starts going down or decreasing. That is what is we are talking about the marginal utility. So, marginal utility decreases, total utility may increase. So, this is known as law of diminishing marginal utility. Is it clear? In next class we are going to discuss about the theory of demand and supply. I hope that till now whatever we have discussed is clear to you, and we will get back next class. We will have a small discussion on this theory of law of diminishing marginal utility with few examples. Then we will switch over to theory of demand and supply. Is it clear? Okay, thank you.